Part 25. Rebirth of Fantasy, Obtain the Sect System. Author, Red General. Chapter 241. But even though he was happy for Yun Fengji, after all, the two had known each other for tens of thousands of years, so it was normal to send some blessings. In order not to leave Yun Fengji's side, Gong Mo followed her and joined the Profound Heaven section. Relying on the aura of his Son of Fortune, he defeated several powerful martial emperors one after another, and became one of the 8 peak masters. The master of Juyuan Peak. When he heard the news, Qin Xian was still a little surprised. After all, it was a bit strange and incomprehensible that Yun Fengji, who had always been lonely, could be with Gong Mo. Qin Xian also suspected again and again, is this the way of heaven playing something? Of course, Qin Xian is also very welcome for Son of Fortune to join his section. After all, he is the biological son of Tiandiao. As long as he is Son of Fortune, Qin Xian will not refuse him. Then Qin Xian did not speak, but opened the system Sect interface and looked up at it. In the past 10 years, he has made a very big change in Profound Heaven Sect, such as the position. I saw it on the Sect interface. Profound Heaven Sect. 7 peaks. Peak Master of Yuya Peak, Yun Fengji. Peak Master of Shangu Peak, Kang Wei. Peak Master of Black Devil Peak, Bloodthirsty. The leader of Wanghai Peak, Song Shizu. The leader of Tianli Peak, Lei Wuxian. Heavenly Sword Peak Peak Master, Lin Tian. 100 Flowers Peak Peak Master, Shangguan Xianfeng. 8 peaks. Refining Elixir Peak Peak Master, Xiao Ran. Artifact Refining Peak Master, Mei Li. The Master of Spirit Beast Peak, Yin Yangzi. The Master of Yu Beast Peak, Qin Feng. The Peak Master of Huoyun Peak, Huo Yi. The Peak Master of Blood Spirit Peak, Suzi. Yun Sword Peak Peak Master, Gu Yu. Juyuan Peak Peak Master, Gong Mo. 4 palaces. Master of the Law Enforcement Hall, Degu. Deputy Hall Master, Mo Chen, Quangyun. Shadow Palace Master, Shadow Demon. Deputy Palace Master, Shenxiyan, Fang Yan. Master of the Soul Palace, Soul Demon. Deputy Palace Master, Gu Yuntian, Chu Yale. Master of the Mission Hall, Gu Yunfen. Omitted later. After glancing at the position on the Sect interface, Qin Xian closed it, looked at everyone with a majestic expression, and said in a deep voice, "From today on, I, Profound Heaven Sect, will start to close the door and no longer recruit disciples from the outside, regardless of him, her, what a level of cultivation and talent. As long as you come to the sect, you don't have to accept them, you can just turn them away." Everyone looked at each other after hearing this, and nodded without saying anything in reply. The other thing is to settle in the upper realm. After hearing this, everyone quickly cheered up and listened with their ears pricked up. When you move to the upper realm, you will definitely have to move away from the sect, but we are a collective ascension and the sect cannot be taken away. Therefore, I have thought about it over and over again and prepared to start a review of the sect within the next 3 years to see what I need to take him away, and then I will go up to the world with you in ascension. I hope you will be ready. Of course, there is another reason why I do this, and that is to give those who have not broken through to the semi-immortal realm a chance. Hearing these words, a glimmer of hope flashed in the eyes of those strong martial emperors who had not yet broken through to the semi-immortal realm. Qin Xian naturally saw it and continued, "You don't need to rush or worry. I will issue the immortal pill to you later. This is also your last chance. I hope you can fight for it. We will obey the order of the sect master." When everyone heard this, they hurriedly bowed their hands respectfully. He looked impatient, as if he wanted to go to ascension in the next moment. Especially those strong men who were still at the peak of martial emperor. They thought they had no chance, but what they just said gave them hope again. They are also very confident that within these 3 years, they can definitely break through to the semi-immortal realm. Seeing everyone's impatient expressions, why didn't Qin Xian not want to ascension to the upper world immediately? It's just that the system was upgraded again a few years ago. Because of his own realm, once the aura is slightly released, the eye of heaven will look over. This resulted in the phenomenon of wanting to leave but being unable to leave. From the beginning to now, there are still 3 years before the system can be reactivated. Thinking of this, Qin Xian waved to everyone, indicating that you can leave. After everyone left, Qin Xian's figure disappeared into thin air and appeared in a secret realm. And this is Tianqian's secret realm. Come out, our friendship over the past few years, do you still need to hide it so deliberately? Qin Xian said with a cold expression. Ha ha ha. A hearty laughter came from a distance, sometimes far and sometimes near. The next moment, a handsome-looking man wearing a cyan black robe appeared in front of Qin Xian. This man was Wu Su. Seeing Qin Xian's figure, Wu Su cupped his hands with a smile on his face and said, I haven't seen you for a few years, but I still hope that brother Qin will take care of you. In the past 10 years, Qin Xian, in addition to making breakthroughs in his own cultivation and handling sect matters, also came to the opening of Tianqian's secret realm, wanting to see what was different about Tianqian's secret realm. I happened to meet Wu Su outside Tianqian's secret realm. The two of them seemed to have been brothers for many years when they met, and they talked happily. Stop talking about Haihan, I'm here today to ask you a few things. Qin Xian waved his hand and did not say anything casual, but directly explained the purpose of his visit. Oh? What's the matter? Upon hearing this, Wu Su raised his eyebrows, with a look of interest on his lips. That's naturally a matter of the upper realm. Hearing this, Wu Su was stunned, as if he didn't expect Qin Xian to ask this, but then he sighed and shook his head and said, I'm sorry, brother Qin, to be honest, I don't know much about things in the upper world. How do you understand it? Besides, you also know that the profound heaven continent's way of heaven has hindered me, preventing me from ascension to the upper realm. I've only read about it in ancient books, and I don't know if it's true. Qin Xian frowned and thought, is it possible that the system was upgraded because of the obstacle of heaven? Then he looked at Wu Su and said in a deep voice, Brother Wu, please tell me everything. It will give me a rough idea. Wu Su nodded and began to explain, the upper realm is what we people in the lower realm call it. Its real name is not this, but the immortal domain, also called the Fey immortal domain, and the Fey immortal domain has thousands of states. Every state has a powerful immortal ruler, and a strong person like you in the semi-immortal realm is just an ant there, or to put it harshly, an ant. There, the human immortal realm, the earth immortal realm, and the celestial immortal realm can all be said to be like ants. There can't be more of them. Speaking of this, Wu Su seemed to have thought of something, and added, of course, I have also read in ancient books that in addition to flying the immortal domain, there are other 9 domains. I wonder if you are interested in hearing about it? Hearing this, Qin Xian raised his eyebrows and said, come and listen. Rebirth of Fantasy, Obtain the Sect System Author, Red General. Chapter 242. These 9 realms are called Immortal Domain, Tianluo Realm, Huangtian Realm, Life and Death Realm, Kunlun Realm, Kangxian Realm, Evil Beast Realm, Evil Demon Realm, and Netherworld Realm. Hearing what Wu Su said about the 9 realms, Qin Xian's eyes flashed with shock, but he quickly calmed down, with a lot of thoughts in his heart. I couldn't help but think of the long river of time created by the top 10 domain lords mentioned by the system back then. And in my heart, I am looking forward to the upper realm of ascension more and more. Qin Xian touched his chin and thought for a while, then asked again, that means that our ascension domain can only fly to the immortal domain? We can't ascension to other domains, right? Qin Xian expressed the doubts in his heart. No, Wu Su shook his head, I also thought about your idea back then, and the answer I gave you is impossible. Because the space channel connected to profound heaven continent is only the immortal domain, and there is no space channel connecting other domains. Of course, other realms also have their own corresponding space channels, and they also have the same world as profound heaven continent, but the body refining system is different. If you want to go to other realms, unless you have the power to break the space, it will be impossible to go to other realms. Wusu seemed to have guessed what Qin Xian was going to ask next, and continued, and you should not compare the space power used on profound heaven continent with this. The two are not of the same magnitude at all, because this it relates to the application of space laws, which is fundamentally different from the space we usually use. One is the sky and the other is the earth. Although the strong martial emperor can master the laws, he only masters the laws on the profound heaven continent. It does not mean that he can control the laws of other places. Hearing Wusu's explanation, Qin Xian nodded slightly, his eyes glowed, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Seeing Qin Xian thinking, Wusu thought about what Qin Xian asked him just now, and asked tentatively, "You ask so many questions, do you mean to go to Ascension?" Qin Xian glanced at him, nodded, and replied, "What if? After all, I have reached the pinnacle of this continent. If I don't break through, where will I go? It's impossible to stay in the profound heaven continent all your life. Don't you want to experience the wonders of a higher realm?" Hearing this, Wusu was stunned for a moment, then shook his head with some disappointment, and sighed, "How could I not want to, but it's a pity that the law of heaven has been restricting me. Let me make it clear to you, in fact, my secret realm and the profound heaven continent are one and the same. Although I am the master of the secret realm on the surface and have very powerful power, secretly I am just a puppet controlled by heaven." "Why? Is it possible that you can't find an heir at will?" Qin Xian asked with some confusion. "Cannot." Wusu shook his head, "If I could, I would have done this long ago. How could I stop here? After talking to you for so long, let me explain to you the reason why I am trapped by the way of heaven. Actually, according to the facts, I can be considered a person who has died." Qin Xian frowned, not understanding the meaning of the sentence. "How do you say it?" "Not long after I woke up from secret realm, I discovered that I actually have a soul body. Although I have a physical body, I am really a soul body. All of this is a lie, and it's also about who I used to be. My former identity was the pavilion master of Liun Pavilion. Of course, maybe not, because according to your Sect's Yun Fenji, the real pavilion master of Liun Pavilion is Tiankai, not me. I was deceived by people in the pavilion back then. The old guys in Liun Pavilion did not know what kind of secret technique they cast on me, causing me to suddenly fall into a coma when I took over the power of the section. Of course, maybe it's falling into death. I don't know what method they used to get me in touch with Tianqian's secret realm, so I became the master of Tianqian's secret realm without knowing anything. Now I'm like a bird in a cage. No matter how strong I am or how high my cultivation level is, I can't escape from here, and I can't ascension to the upper world." Qin Xian frowned when he heard Wu Suyi's coherent words. To be honest, Qin Xian's real intention in his heart is to draw Wu Su into his section. After all, when Qin Xian talked with Wu Su, he himself said that if he can claim the strength of the upper world, he is now may have reached the celestial immortal realm. Dare I ask, what would happen if a strong man from the celestial immortal realm joined his sect? Naturally, it can occupy a place in the upper world. After all, Qin Xian doesn't know what will appear after the system is updated. So now Qin Xian has the idea of bringing Wu Su to the sect. Maybe we have to wait until the system recovers before we can solve this problem, Qin Xian thought to himself. Then he raised his eyes to look at Wu Su, patted his shoulder and said, "Don't worry, in a few years, I will take you away from here." Wu Su looked at him with a somewhat suspicious expression, and he really didn't believe what Qin Xian said in his heart. Although it is incredible that Qin Xian could develop a profound heaven sect to such a scale in less than 50 years, it does not mean that he has the power to resist the law of heaven. But he still looked at Qin Xian with a smile and nodded, "Okay, you actually said that, then I will wait for you. Don't worry, you won't be disappointed." Qin Xian raised his eyes and looked into Wusu's eyes. This real and confident feeling gave Wusu a fantasy, as if the person in front of him could really do it. Finished. 3 years passed in a blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, we arrived at the upper realm of ascension. Ding, the system upgrade is completed, it is now version 2.1. Hearing the voice of the system in his mind, Qin Xian looked as indifferent as ever. He paused for a moment before asking, "Do you have a gift bag?" Ding, the master of a sect has upgraded and changed it to the domain of destruction. Once the domain of destruction is released, the host's own strength will be greatly improved, and he will have the ability to kill enemies in a larger realm. In contrast, as long as the enemy is close to the host, his strength will increase, descend to a great level. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of Fantasy, Obtain the Sect System. Author, Red General. Chapter 243. Qin Xian raised his eyebrows and his eyes flickered slightly. This upgrade is not bad. After all, Qin Xian also feels that the passive strength of the leader of a sect is too useless. As long as others do not approach his sect space, he will not be able to exert his invincible strength at all. On the contrary, this field of destruction is very awesome, and its name is very cool. But the voice of the system in my head has not disappeared. Ding, the host will be rewarded with Earth Immortal Cultivation, the Demon Dragon Spear, 2 Rank 1 Mortal Immortal Jade Beads, and the 9 Nether Emperor Robe. Hearing a series of system rewards in his mind, Qin Xian's eyebrows moved slightly, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Yes, this reward is very much what I want. As soon as he finished speaking, a black robe was draped on Qin Xian's slender figure. Countless black beads flashed on the robe, like eyes one after another, making people shudder and feel fear when they look at it. But it wasn't over yet. Another powerful cultivation level suddenly appeared in Qin Xian's body. With a bang, Qin Xian instantly broke through from the pinnacle of the semi-immortal realm to the earth immortal realm. Qin Xian clenched his fist, and the corners of his unmoved mouth moved slightly at this moment. Then he raised his eyes to look at the robe on his body, and saw a trace of blood-red light emitting from the black beads on the robe. Buzz! There was a hint of relief on Qin Xian's face. This feeling was really addictive. All the irritability in Qin Xian's heart disappeared, and he even found that he was becoming less and less interested in feelings. However, Qin Xian didn't care, but looked at the mortal immortal jade bead. The system seemed to know what Qin Xian wanted to ask. Ding, the body of the mortal immortal jade bead contains powerful energy, which can infuse the cultivation level of the human immortal realm into a person's body, no matter he, she, was immortal or something. With this bead, you can breaking through to the human immortal realm in that moment without any side effects. Upon hearing this, Qin Xian's eyes flashed with a faint light, and he did not speak, as if he was thinking about something. The next moment, 2 daoist figures appeared in front of Qin Xian. They knelt down on one knee and cupped their hands. "Master." The 2 are the Soul Demon and the Shadow Demon. Seeing the arrival of the 2 men, Qin Xian was speechless, but took out the mortal immortal jade beads obtained from the system. Then he handed it to the 2 of them. Buzz! The 2 beads burst into bright light instantly, and the energy released was suffocating. I saw an extremely powerful force, a force that did not belong to this world, crazily pouring into the bodies of the 2 soul demons and shadow demons. Seeing the 2 people's own realms rising, Qin Xian nodded slightly, very satisfied with this thing. After a few breaths, as expected, the 2 of them reached the level of human immortal. Feeling the power rolling in their bodies, the two of them looked happy and immediately knelt down to Qin Xian and said, "Thank you, Master, for giving me strength." Qin Xian waved his hand and did not speak. Instead, he asked the system. He still had a question in his mind. "System, why do I feel the repulsion of heaven? But I still can't ascension." Ding, profound heaven continent has space barriers. If the host wants to directly ascension to the upper realm, it will not work. Qin Xian frowned, seeming a little dissatisfied with the written answer. "What should I do?" Ding, the host can purchase the boundary breaking bead. Boundary breaking pearl? When Qin Xian heard this, he did not immediately agree to buy it. Instead, after thinking for a while, he saw a white bead in the system mall. Boundary breaking bead, it has the ability to break the boundary wall, which is very helpful when you are trapped in a certain place, or a place restricted by the mainland. Price, 500 system value. Seeing the system value of 500, Qin Xian seemed to have thought of something and looked at his original mission value. It was found that the above has been changed to the system value, and the number has changed from the original hundreds of millions of task values to 10,000 system values. Seeing this situation, Qin Xian frowned, and the system answered him before he could ask. Ding, this is a version after system upgrade, so the mission values previously obtained by the host have been improved. Of course, the host can also be understood as devaluation. Depreciation. Hearing these two words, Qin Xian looked at the price for purchasing the high-level Martial Emperor. I found that the system value of 30 was clearly written on it. Seeing this scene, Qin Xian didn't say anything else, as long as the system didn't corrupt him. He skillfully bought the boundary breaking pearl for 500 system values, but Qin Xian did not use it immediately. Instead, he asked the system how to save the people controlled by the heavenly Dao. Ding, the host can purchase heavenly pearl. Cover heavenly pearl? Qin Xian raised his eyebrows. Couldn't this thing only cover up the way of heaven? What does it have to do with people controlled by heaven? Then Qin Xian seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes lit up. Not only did he buy the heavenly pearl, but he also bought a boundary breaking pearl again. The price was naturally 500 system value. Immediately afterwards, a token appeared in Qin Xian's hand, which was the item exchanged between him and Wusu. "Come to Profound Heaven Sect," Qin Xian said calmly to the token. The token made no sound. After a few breaths, the token moved slightly, and a magnetic male voice came from it. "Wait for me." After a stick of incense passed, a shadow appeared out of thin air in Tianqian Hall, and the person who came was none other than Wusu. When the soul demons and shadow demons on Qin Xian's left and right saw this scene, their expressions were shocked, and they instantly felt the approaching death crisis. Despite this, the two did not escape. Instead, they blocked Qin Xian with their bodies, looked at Wusu with wary eyes, and angrily said, "Who are you? How dare you trespass into the Profound Heaven Sect? No need to panic, this is my friend." Qin Xian waved his hands to the two of them expressionlessly. After hearing this, the two of them looked at each other without speaking, but still looked at Wusu warily. Wusu below saw this scene, a smile appeared on his lips, and he couldn't help but joked, "Brother Qin's subordinates seem to be very loyal. No wonder you can develop Profound Heaven Sect to this scale." Qin Xian raised his eyes and glanced at him, but did not answer the question. "I already have a way to escape you from the hands of heaven." "What?" Wusu's face was shocked, but he immediately calmed down. He looked at Qin Xian with a trace of hesitation and said, "Brother Qin, are you serious? You must know the way of heaven." Before Wusu could continue, Qin Xian interrupted him directly. He immediately took out the heavenly pearl, ignoring Wusu's confused look, and squeezed it with his hand. With a click, the heavenly pearl in his hand instantly turned into powder and scattered in the air. Rebirth of Fantasy, obtain the Sect system. Author, Red General. Chapter 244. At the same time, the heavenly way of profound heaven continent was instantly covered with a layer of sand and covered up, but Wusu did not feel that he had escaped the control of heavenly way. But it wasn't over yet. Immediately afterwards, Qin Xian took out the boundary-breaking pearl again and threw it in front of him. Boom! A shattering sound came, as if something had been broken. The next moment, a black vortex appeared in front of the two of them. Seeing this, Qin Xian's eyes burned, and he looked at Wusu aside and said indifferently, "Go in, you will be pleasantly surprised." Seeing this, Wusu walked in doubtfully. The moment he stepped into the whirlpool, Wusu seemed to feel the feeling of being liberated, and joy instantly appeared in his heart. Before he could thank him, the figure disappeared from Qin Xian's eyes. But the vortex hasn't disappeared yet, and it keeps spinning there. Seeing this scene, Qin Xian looked at the two people beside him and ordered, "Call all the people in the sect who have reached the semi-immortal realm to the Tianqian Palace." Their eyes flickered, they nodded, and then disappeared. After half a stick of incense, Tianqian Hall. I saw hundreds of strong men who had reached the semi-immortal realm in the hall, but they were only at the early stage because there was no immortal energy in the profound heaven continent for them to absorb. Seeing Qin Xian's figure, the faces of hundreds of people instantly showed a trace of respect, and they unanimously leaned over and cupped their hands and said, "Sect Master." Seeing this, Qin Xian nodded, looked at the crowd and said, "Are you all ready?" When everyone heard this, they nodded respectfully and replied, reporting to the Sect Master, "We were all ready 2 years ago. Now we are waiting for your words, Sect Master." "Okay, in that case, there is no need for me to talk nonsense." Then he pointed his finger at the vortex beside him and explained, "This thing is the vortex through which we can reach the upper world. As long as we enter, we can get what we want." After Qin Xian finished speaking, before anyone could ask, a realm appeared in his hand. The next moment, everyone in the hall was sucked into the realm. Seeing this, Qin Xian did not leave in a hurry, but summoned a strong martial emperor. "Sect Master," the visitor said with a respectful expression. Qin Xian nodded and said, "I will soon lead all the people in the sect who have reached the semi-immortal realm to the upper realm, but the lower realm cannot be left alone, so I have thought about it again and again, and am planning to hand over the power of the profound heaven section in your hands." The powerful martial emperor looked stunned when he heard this, as if he didn't understand how he could be in power. Profound heaven sect. Qin Xian didn't pay attention to his expression, patted his shoulder and said, "I have already said what I should say. I hope you will not disappoint me." Seeing this, the strong martial emperor struggled slightly for a while, then nodded heavily, leaned over and cupped his hands and said, "Hai Ming will definitely live up to the Sect Master's trust." I saw a whirlpool appear. Immediately, Qin Xian stepped into the whirlpool and disappeared in front of Hai Ming. The old man in white robe smiled. Just as he was about to explain, he saw the magic circle below suddenly flashing with a dazzling light. Hearing this, a glimmer of hope flashed in Hai Ming's eyes. He thought he had no chance. Unexpectedly, the Sect Master always remembered them. He suppressed the excitement in his heart and nodded, "Yes." Buzz. Seeing this scene, Qin Xian felt a little interesting in his heart. Earth Immortal Realm. Humph. A place full of rubble and debris. I don't know. The young man opened his big eyes and shook his head. Cough, cough. Qin Xian's eyes lit up and he clenched his fists. He felt that this was the real power of the Earth Immortal Realm, not the power of the profound heaven continent. "Master, are the demon race really that scary? Logically speaking, they should also be a type of human race." "Master. Master, who was that person just now? Why has this disciple never seen him? And he is so powerful." Then he appeared next to the old man in white robe. This situation made the old man spit out a mouthful of blood. The young man poked his head and said innocently, not knowing what consequences the appearance of the demon race would bring, but instead he was curious about this race. The young man stood beside the man in white robe, pointed at the magic circle below, and asked in a low voice with his mouth open. A man wearing Juyosuan Bao, with a handsome face and exuding a cold and terrifying aura stepped out. The boy's immature face was a little ugly, and sweat kept coming from his forehead, but he was not afraid. Qin Xian kept moving forward along with the star stream. When the old man in white robe looked into these eyes, he instantly felt a sense of oppression coming towards his face, making him somewhat breathless. As if he noticed something, Qin Xian's dark eyes looked at the old man and young man who had just spoken. The old man in white robe frowned and slowly shook his head. I don't know yet, but what reassures me is that this person is not a demon race person, but a human race. Otherwise, Yunzhou may have someone who can destroy him. Disaster, a catastrophe for the world. The cold voice made the old man in white robes tremble with fear. How could he dare to neglect him? He quickly stood up and replied with a respectful expression, Senior, my name is Song Hong, and his name is Gu Yuan. He is a disciple I accepted this year. Puff. An old man in white robes and a young man appeared here. They were standing on a boulder, looking at the ruins below, as if they were thinking about something. In the whirlpool. Fly the immortal domain. Qin Xian did not speak, turned around, and the next moment, hundreds of porcelain bottles appeared in his hands, and handed all the porcelain bottles in front of Haiming, solemnly saying, these are all immortal pills, wait until you reach the peak of Martial Emperor. When you reach the realm, you can prepare to break through to the semi-immortal realm, and when the time comes, I will send someone to greet you. Nothing can be seen here, only a stream of purple stars and endless whirlpools. Seeing this, the old man in white robe touched the young man's head, with a charitable smile on his face, and said softly, Yuan, you are still young and don't understand the horror of the demon race. This race is just a food. Human blood, demons that rip off human bones. Do you know why Yunzhou is a desolate place instead of a prosperous place? Yunzhou. As soon as he stepped in, Qin Xian felt the spiritual power in his body shaking continuously. In an instant, a large stream of immortal energy slowly entered Qin Xian's body. In just a few breaths, all the spiritual power in Qin Xian's body was replaced. Became mana. Qin Xian ignored Hans Huang and asked in a cold voice, what are your names? And where am I now? The young man on the side seemed to have noticed some bad premonition, and shouted to the old man in white robe with a panicked expression. Rebirth of Fantasy, obtain the Sect system. Author, Red General. Chapter 245. And this place is called Wangui Domain. It is the place where immortal domain flies among the 10 domains. It is also Yunzhou, one of the 1,000 states. Mangaizuka. Hearing the name, Qin Xian frowned, but didn't say anything more. He just felt a bad premonition. Then who is the ruler here? Qin Xian asked again. Senior, the ruler here is the great Zhou immortal dynasty, Song Hong said respectfully. Big weak immortal dynasty? Qin Xian raised his eyebrows secretly, not that he was afraid, but just a little surprised. After all, there is no dynasty in the profound heaven continent, only the honorific title empire, and the upper realm is actually called Great Zhou Immortal Dynasty. Doesn't that mean that this is a place for hegemony? Countries compete for hegemony, and thousands of clans come to court. Thinking of this, Qin Xian couldn't help but sneered. The upper realm is indeed the upper realm, it's really extraordinary. There is also a trace of expectation in my heart. Then he took out the realm, and in the doubtful eyes of the white-robed old man, hundreds of strong men from the semi-immortal realm instantly emerged from it. All over the ruins. Everyone looked around curiously with their eyes. After all, they were all coming to the upper world for the first time. Seeing this scene, the old man in white robe was shocked. Who is he? There are so many powerful people in the semi-immortal realm, and they are all young people. If they are trained properly, they will definitely reach the immortal king realm in the future. Of course, this is not because the old man in white robe is afraid, but because he is surprised by the age of these people. Although there were hundreds of powerful men in the semi-immortal realm, in his eyes, they were just a bunch of ants. The only one who truly threatened him was Qin Xian. In the crowd, Fang Gu and Gong Mo felt the familiar immortal energy around them and couldn't help but smile. They hadn't felt this way for many years. They all said in unison, Xiu, I, Fang Gu, Gong Mo, am back. Then, his eyes looked at Qin Xian's figure, stayed on Song Hong and Gu Yuan for a while, and then looked away. Seeing everyone looking around, Qin Xian said nothing, but looked straight at Song Hong and asked, You are a strong man in the earth immortal realm, you should have a family or a sect, right? Song Hong's heart trembled and he didn't dare to hide it. He nodded tremblingly and said, Yes, senior, my sect is called Tianyun Immortal Sect. Oh. Tianyun Immortal Sect. Qin Xian showed an interesting smile and continued to ask, Then who is the strongest person in your sect? What level of cultivation has he achieved? Senior, the name of our sect's leader is Huayun, and he is a cultivator of the celestial immortal realm. What kind of cultivation is it specifically? Song Hong shook his head, I don't know about seniors, but at least I have reached the late stage. Ding, they are, Tianyun Immortal Sect, Earth Palace, 7 Kills Palace Branch Hall. The way of heaven in this world is too strong, telling too much will reveal the secret, so I ask the host for your understanding. Song Hong pointed with his finger at the dark canyon not far away. Seeing this scene, Qin Xian thought for a while. He now has a system value of 8,500, but the rank 2 mortal jade beads are of little use, unless they are rank 3 ones. Yes, thank you very much, senior. Hearing this, Song Hong immediately knew who Qin Xian was asking, and quickly replied, Senior saw it, but he was very fast. He disappeared from my eyes in the blink of an eye. I only knew that he was going to go over there. Although the system can no longer help you, you can continue to buy things in the system mall. The same is true for Shangguan Xianfeng and others. Price, 1,000. Why? Ding, for some reason, the system cannot inform. Qin Xian glanced at him, nodded slightly, looked at him and nodded, Okay, you can go. Qin Xian seemed to have guessed what he was thinking, and said calmly, Don't worry, I won't kill you just by asking you a question. What's more, the force I belong to is not the demonic cultivator, but a righteous Dao section. Naturally, I won't do that kind of indiscriminate killing, of course, unless someone deliberately provokes you, like if you provoke me now, then I will not hesitate to cut you into pieces. Then he pulled Gu Yuan aside and disappeared from Qin Xian's eyes. Ah! Song Hong's face showed a hint of surprise, and he was a little surprised because he didn't know why. System, what are the forces around here now? Seeing this, the soul demon didn't say anything and retreated. Rank 2 mortal immortal jade bead, has the cultivation level to elevate a person to earth immortal, no matter what he or she was in life. The next moment, 2 mortal immortal jade beads appeared in his hands. Late stage. Hearing this, Qin Xian stroked his chin and seemed to think of something again, and asked again, Did you see a man wearing a green robe appear here? Seeing this scene, the soul demon who was not far away moved his mouth slightly, and a trace of murderous intent appeared in his eyes. He leaned over and said respectfully, Master, in my opinion, we should kill this person quickly. After all, we have no foothold. If the news is exposed by him, then we are not. It's hard to get a foothold. Price, 3,000. Seeing these 2 mortal immortal jade beads, Qin Xian thought for a while and decided to give them to Gong Mo and Mo Chen. After all, Gong Mo also had an identity as the immortal venerable in the upper realm. When he reached such a state, he would definitely be able to do it without even thinking about it. It has greatly helped his sect gain a foothold. Seeing this, Qin Xian sighed slightly and shook his head. He originally thought he could rely on the system, but now. Qin Xian glanced at him, shook his head, looked into the distance with his hands behind his hands and said, "He won't do this. Besides, he doesn't have the courage. I have shocked him just now. As long as he is not stupid, he won't do this, and what if he tells us? Will we be afraid of him?" Qin Xian was not afraid. On the contrary, he wanted to try it. After all, his field of destruction was a very perfect skill. Then where have their forces reached the highest level? Qin Xian asked again. As for Xiao Ran, Ling Gu and others, they just stood there quietly, seemingly waiting for Qin Xian's next order. Thinking of this, Qin Xian looked at the rank 3 immortal jade bead again. Thinking of this, Qin Xian's mind sank into the system mall. Hearing this, Song Hong swallowed secretly. He naturally believed that Qin Xian's words were not a joke. Rank 3 immortal jade bead has the cultivation level to elevate a person to the celestial immortal realm, no matter what he or she was in life. Rank 3 immortal jade pearl. Qin Xian did not hesitate and bought 2 of them directly. After all, these things were very useful to help him now. What? Hearing this, Qin Xian frowned. He remembered that when he was in Tianxin continent, the system could still say it, why couldn't it now? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of Fantasy, Obtain the Sect System. Author, Red General. Chapter 246. As for Mo Chen, there is no need to say more. His blood demon fighting body is extremely abnormal, and he can fight even if he encounters a strong person in the true immortal realm. Then he called the 2 of them over. Sect Master, the 2 bowed their heads and said, "This is for you. After using it, your own realm will reach the celestial immortal realm." Qin Xian handed the mortal jade beads to the 2 of them and said lightly. After hearing this, the 2 of them looked at each other. Mo Chen didn't feel anything, but Gong Mo felt a little shocked in his heart, and then he became a little confused. Why would the sect master give this thing to him? It seems that he has never had any contact with the sect master since he joined the sect, right? Despite this, Gong Mo still accepted the immortal jade bead. After all, such a treasure should not be given away for free. Qin Xian seemed to see the doubts in Gong Mo's heart. He looked at Gong Mo with a faint look and said, "You don't have to think of going anywhere else. This thing itself is prepared for you. Of course, you don't have to think that I'm plotting against you by giving you this thing. If I wanted to plot against you, you would have died in my hands before joining the section. And I also know your identity in your previous life." Hearing Qin Xian's coherent words, Gong Mo's pupils shrank, and his heartbeat suddenly accelerated, making a thumping sound. He remembered that he had never told anyone about his identity in his previous life, not even his beloved Yun Fenji. Even if he was asked, he would change the subject. But why did Qin Xian know? Thinking of this, Gong Mo couldn't see through Qin Xian. Qin Xian had always made him feel mysterious. Now Gong Mo felt that in addition to mystery, Qin Xian also had a hint of terror. "Thank you, Master." Mo Chen on the side did not pay much attention, but thanked him respectfully. Mo Chen's words also brought Gong Mo back to his senses. He breathed slightly for a while, then cupped his hands and "Thank you so much, Sect Master." Qin Xian glanced at the 2 of them lightly, without saying anything, and waved his hand. Seeing this, Gong Mo didn't hesitate to ask more questions and retreated with doubts. After the two retreated, Qin Feng's figure appeared in front of Qin Xian. As his clone, Qin Feng naturally has the strength of the destruction domain and the earth immortal realm. It can be said to be a bug, but the system allows it. After a few breaths, the carriage arrived in front of Qin Feng and the others, but the three of them had no intention of leaving. Seeing the three people's motionless figures, a man in white on the left side of the carriage came over and looked at them with disgust. Looking at the three of them, they did not notice the strength of Qin Feng and the others, and yelled loudly, "Who are you three? Don't you know that this is the city lord's car? Are you looking for death?" Immediately, Soul Demon and Shadow Demon appeared behind Qin Feng. Upon hearing this, Qin Feng's eyes flashed and he nodded without asking any more questions. The tall walls of Kaiwan City are full of hideous scratches, and there is some light dirt on them, which seems to be blood that has not been cleaned. After all, he is just a city defender. As long as it doesn't cause trouble to himself, he rarely cares about it. Yunzhou Kaiwan City. When the two soul demons and shadow demons saw this scene, their eyes flickered, and then they asked Qin Feng, the leader, "Master, I wonder what happens next." Standing under the gate of Kaiwan City were 8 soldiers who had reached the human immortal realm, and a middle-aged man whose cultivation had reached the earth immortal realm. When the man heard this, a hint of respect immediately appeared on his face, and he nodded with a smile, "Okay, city lord." Then he gave Qin Feng a vicious look, snorted coldly, and directed the carriage to walk to the side of the road. "There is something I need to leave to you." Such words naturally attracted the crowds coming and going nearby. They all looked at Qin Feng and the others with their eyes, but there was a hint of sneer on their faces. 3 men in black robes appeared here, looking up at this ancient city that had gone through vicissitudes of life. Looking at Qin Feng's cold face, Qin Xian's deep eyes emitted a glimmer of light and commanded. Wanting to be here, Qin Feng shook his head and said to the 2 people behind him, "Let's go into the city." Hearing this, everyone was shocked and nodded. Qin Xian glanced at the area with cold eyes and disappeared. "What's the matter?" They were uniformly dressed in black armor, and looked indifferent. The black spears they held in their hands had a chill coming from the tip. Not surprisingly, these soldiers were all strong men who had been trained in the mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Seeing this, Qin Xian waved his hand, and everyone's figures appeared in the realm. When the man in white heard this, a strange expression appeared on his face, as if he didn't understand how this man dared to reply. Didn't he know his identity? The front of the carriage is pulled by a huge black rhinoceros, and there are several men in white robes around it, exuding the strength of the earth immortal realm. Moreover, Qin Feng could vaguely smell the smell of blood. His original idea was to attract the owner of the carriage, but he didn't expect that this person was so talkative and left gracefully. "Go and destroy the branches of the 7 Kills Palace." Before the man in white could speak, a vicissitudes of coughing sound came from the carriage. "Ahem, okay, if it doesn't work, just take the road. Don't delay my important business for this trivial matter." When a general at the city gate saw this scene, he just frowned and did not move closer. "Court death?" Hearing these 2 words, Qin Feng's face showed a hint of disdain. He raised his eyes and looked at this person and said coldly, "I don't know who is seeking death. Take them both with you, I hope you can bring me good news." Hearing this, Qin Feng did not speak, but looked at a car approaching slowly not far away, wondering what he was thinking. After all, there is also a sect in the realm, and you can stay here even if you can't gain a foothold. Seeing the disappearing figures of the 3 people, Qin Xian once again had the realm appear in his hand, raised his eyes to look at the crowd, and said in a deep voice, "I have sent the Soul Demon, Shadow Demon and the Master of the Beast Control Peak Qin Feng to handle an important matter. So you don't have to worry about the rest for now. Try to be familiar with your own strength first, maybe there will be a big battle coming soon. This demonic energy is very cold, like a demon crawling out of the 9 nether hell. Understood, Qin Feng nodded expressionlessly, and then disappeared from the place with Soul Demon and Shadow Demon. Qin Feng didn't look for trouble when he saw this. The reason why he wanted to block here was because Qin Feng felt a trace of evil energy in the carriage. Rebirth of Fantasy, obtain the Sect system. Author, Red General. Chapter 247. Yes. The three of them entered the city on foot. The scene in the city was not prosperous, and even revealed a sense of desolation. The smell of death was everywhere in the air, which seemed to mean that the city was a dead city. Only a few people walked through the streets in the city. Moreover, these people were the same group of people who had just entered the city. Is this city really weird? Has this city been massacred before? Soul Demon, who was on Qin Feng's right hand, frowned slightly when he saw the scene and looked at Demon Dao, who was standing aside. Soul demons are very sensitive to the smell of blood. Although there is no smell of blood in the city, soul demons with many years of killing experience can still feel it and can't help but become interested. Let's complete the order given to us by the master first. As for this city, ignore him for the time being and it has nothing to do with us. Shadow Demon shook his head, not wanting to pay more attention to these things. Seeing this, Soul Demon said nothing and followed Qin Feng to a musty-smelling pavilion. Although the pavilion exudes a musty smell, at least it is still popular and does not give off the desolate feeling like outside. I saw 3 or 5 people sitting on several tables in the pavilion, sitting there in groups eating vegetables, and could still hear faint conversations. But these people are not the main thing. The main thing is the few people sitting on a table in the middle of the attic. On the contrary, they spoke very loudly, like thunder, and they also laughed loudly from time to time. This sound naturally made other people unhappy, but no one dared to stand up and say anything. Because these people are from the great Zhou immortal dynasty Zhenxian Mansion, they dare not offend. The people in Zhenxian Mansion have great power. Regardless of whether you are guilty or innocent, as long as you are caught by them, you will not be able to escape, and what awaits you is a torture of being cut to pieces. This is the force that everyone in the great Zhou immortal dynasty fears. What these people like most is to abuse their power and seek financial gain. Seeing this, Qin Feng looked cold and didn't pay too much attention. Instead, he found a table next to the Soul Demon and Shadow Demon. Soon after, a man dressed as a boy came over and smiled. He looked at the 3 of them and said, "I wonder what you guys want to eat." "What do you have to eat here?" Qin Feng opened his eyes and looked at the man calmly and asked. Hearing this sentence, the man showed a hint of complacency and immediately began to explain. "That's a lot: Sky Eagle Monster King meat, Wind King Tiger meat, Black Demon beef and so on." "Oh." Hearing this, Qin Feng's eyes flashed with surprise. Although he didn't know much about meat, he still knew a little about Monster Qin Feng. The monster meat the man just mentioned was at least at the human immortal level or above. As for the remaining 4 people who saw this scene, they were so frightened and pissed that they were in trouble. Before they could escape, the Soul Demon and the Shadow Demon appeared in front of the 3 of them, blocking their retreat. "Oh." Qin Feng turned his head and glanced at him, with a hint of ridicule on his face, but still pretended to be panicked and asked, "Why are we so unknown?" He murmured, "It seems that I can get some information from you, so as not to kill some innocent people. How dare a mere ant from the human immortal realm dare to challenge the earth immortal realm? Is it just because of your identity? So I'll trouble you guys to stay today. Humph. Remember, if you don't have the strength in the future, don't provoke people who are stronger than you, otherwise the consequences will be like today." Then, those people came to Qin Feng with great speed. The big man sat beside the 3 of them without hesitation, showed a ferocious smile, and introduced himself. From the beginning to the end, the strong man remained in a daze, never expecting that Qin Feng would dare to attack him. Several people let out a miserable scream, which resounded throughout the attic and naturally attracted the patrolling guards in the city. Why isn't this person afraid of himself? The strong man pondered for a moment after hearing the words, then looked at a few people and nodded, "Okay, it just so happens that I also had my eye on a fairy sword before, so let's ask for it from these people." Before the strong man could react, Qin Feng appeared behind him like a hurricane, grabbed the strong man's neck with one hand, and threw it under the table without hesitation. The soul demon left no one alive and broke through their minds directly, seeming to want to destroy their souls. Not far away, several people at the table saw this scene, looked at each other, and had an idea in their minds. "Oh no, I almost forgot, you have no future." The strong man smiled, stood up, puffed out his chest, and said arrogantly, "Just because I am a member of Zhenxian Mansion." Zhenxian Mansion, Qin Feng's face showed a trace of interest. He was not afraid of this force. On the contrary, he still had a very strong interest in his heart. After a few breaths, the soul demon opened his eyes, revealing a glimmer of light. He knew the location of the separation hall of the Seven Kills Hall, and also knew some unsightly things in the city. Qin Feng smiled sinisterly, moved his legs and feet hard, and made a click. The strong man was stunned for a moment, as if he thought he heard wrongly. The strong man's head exploded instantly, and blood flowed. The eyes of Soul Demon and Shadow Demon flickered slightly, and they naturally noticed it, but they just smiled coldly and didn't care. "If you leave, who will we go to question?" The Soul Demon crossed his arms and looked down at the three people. This kind of monster meat is a great improvement for people of Qin Feng's level. With a bang, the strong man's head smashed the table and hit the ground. The ground instantly shattered, revealing cracks. A thin-looking man looked at a big man sitting in the middle and asked softly, "Boss, these people seem to have just arrived. Do you want to kill them?" "Ah. I am from Zhenxian Mansion, my name is Ning Yuan, but why haven't I seen your appearance in the city? So I suspect that you must be monsters with unknown origins. If you don't want to be caught by us, then just bring out 10,000 immortal crystals." The soul demon smiled strangely, raised his hand and broke the legs and feet of several people, and then used his skills to break through their minds. Qin Feng stepped on the strong man's head with his foot and sneered coldly, "Otherwise you might have to go to jail today." After hearing this, several people's eyes showed a hint of expectation, and they couldn't help but look at the strong man in the lead. Such a scene was naturally seen by others. Because they saw how scary this group of people was, they just ate something casually, threw down a few immortal crystals and left in a hurry. Rebirth of Fantasy, obtain the Sect system. Author, Red General. Chapter 248. What he saw was a tragic scene, and the three people who had just taken action were completely missing. A man dressed as a general frowned when he saw this scene. He then carefully examined the nearby gravel and found that the mana in it fluctuated greatly. Knowing that the person who made the move could not afford to provoke him, he pondered for a moment and said, "We cannot afford to provoke this person. If we are to blame, the people in Zhenxian Mansion are too arrogant and provoked people who should not be provoked." Hearing this, several guards looked at each other in confusion. Only one more courageous guard asked at this time, "General, should we report it now or?" The man shook his head and said in a deep voice, "Maybe these people are watching us in the dark, so we don't have to deal with this matter. If the higher-ups ask, you can just say that a demonic cultivator sneaked in here and killed these people." Several people. After all, the death conditions of several people were very miserable, just like the demonic cultivator's killing methods. Even if they were told, it would not arouse suspicion. Seeing this, a few people nodded, tidied up and left the place without asking the people in the attic. A few breaths later, the figures of Qin Feng and the others appeared here again. Looking at the man's leaving figure, Qin Feng couldn't help but admired, this man is also smart and knows what he can't touch. Immediately, Qin Feng turned his attention to the people hiding under the table, glared at them fiercely, and said coldly, I won't take your lives, but you have to control your mouth, otherwise. There was a murderous intent in Qin Feng's eyes. When several people looked at him, they quickly covered their mouths and nodded. Snort. Knowing the location of the branch hall of Seven Kills Hall, the three of them did not stay here too long, but quickly left here. At the same time, in the main palace of Kaiwan City, in a spacious hall, two Daoist figures sat cross-legged with each other. One is an old man wearing a white robe with white beard and hair, and the other is a man wearing a black robe. However, the aura exuded by the man in black robes does not belong here, because this man is a demonic cultivator. I saw the old man in white robe making a pot of tea for the man in black robe, but feeling the aura emanating from the man in black robe, the old man frowned and advised, I advise you to restrain your aura. Otherwise, don't blame me for not being able to protect you if the people from Zhenxian Mansion notice it. The man in black robe opposite heard this and smiled disdainfully. He drank the tea in his hand and sneered, they are just a bunch of rubbish. They come here if they have the guts. Am I still afraid of them? Seeing this, the old man shook his head, seeming a little disappointed with the man in black robes in front of him. The man in black robe didn't care at all. He poured himself a cup of tea and asked, Wan Quan, I don't know when you will open the demon suppressing array. You must know that 3 years have passed since the last time. Don't forget that you are my demon palace. Besides, the master behind me is also eager to devour human flesh and blood, so you should tell me when you are going to let us in. The old man sighed when he heard this, shook his head and said, this matter may have to wait for a few months. Why? The man in black robe frowned. This time was too long for him. Didn't you hear that Zhenxian Mansion has sent a strong man from the true immortal realm? If I open the demon suppressing array rashly, not only will I be discovered, but even the person behind you will die. Is it that serious? The man in black robe glanced at him, raised his eyebrows, and looked a little disbelieving. Wan Quan did not speak, but deep down in his heart he had already cursed the man in black robe in front of him. Humph. As expected, he is just a reckless person. He only values the immediate benefits and does not look far. I really don't know why I joined them back then. Otherwise, how could my own daughter die? The old man slowly exhaled and said, if you don't believe it, just go to Wuan City and have a look. Hearing this, the man in black robe shook his head. How could he go to Wuan City? Whether it was true or not, he couldn't go there. But his face was a little unwilling, and he continued, can't the time be shorter? Otherwise, I'm afraid the master won't be able to hold on. Seeing this, the old man's face showed a hint of helplessness, and he spread his hands and said, do you think I don't want to? But I have been being stared at now, and there have been several mysterious people in the city recently. I suspect that those people may be people from Zhenxian Mansion, so no matter what, I can only give 3 months. Seeing this, the man in black robe sighed and nodded. In that case, I will go back and report the situation to the master. The old man nodded and showed no intention of getting up. The man in black robe didn't pay attention and turned into a black mist and left here. 100 miles outside Kaiwan City. A giant steel city made of black crystal stands here. Hundreds of human immortals were wearing iron armor and standing on the city wall, holding knives tightly in their hands, as if they could go up and fight in time when encountering an emergency. In addition, there are 10 Earth Immortal Realm experts walking on the city wall, their deep eyes constantly scanning the surroundings. I saw the words Qi Shadian written on the giant city. I didn't expect that the Seven Kills Palace was actually built out of a city. On a cliff, Qin Feng stood here, looking at the Seven Kills Hall in the distance with some surprise. Behind Qin Feng stood the Soul Demon and the Shadow Demon. But depending on the situation, this 7 kills haul is not as easy to solve as imagined. In my feeling, there are 3 powerful men who are stronger than me hiding in the dark. This shows that there are 3 strong men from the celestial immortal realm. Qin Feng murmured to himself. Even so, Qin Feng was not afraid, but instead showed a hint of fanatical fighting spirit in his eyes. Then he looked at the 2 people behind him and ordered, I will go up to fight them later, and you only need to hide in the dark. There is no need to come to help me. After hearing this, the 2 nodded, knowing that with their own strength, they couldn't help at all. Immediately, Qin Feng's figure appeared outside the gate of Kishayadian. As soon as he appeared, the 3 strong men hiding in the dark noticed it, but they did not make any move, but looked at Qin Feng with vigilant expressions. The 3 of them felt a sense of oppression on Qin Feng's body. Seeing Qin Feng's figure, the 10 Earth Immortal Realm experts on the city wall frowned, staring at him like a formidable enemy, and scolded, Who are you? Don't you know that the 7 kills hall is a forbidden area? Snored. Qin Feng crossed his arms, twisted his arms, and said with a disdainful smile, Isn't the forbidden area meant to be broken? Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but say arrogant. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of Fantasy, obtain the Sect system. Author, Red General. Chapter 249. Immediately, a strong man in the middle stage of Earth Immortal Realm came to Qin Feng. A long sword appeared in his hand, and a powerful mana emitted from the sword body. Water-like immortal energy continued to pour into the long sword, as if it wanted to release some moves. But these are so ridiculous in Qin Feng's eyes. Clenching his fist, he appeared behind the person at lightning speed. His fist suddenly swung out, and with a bang, the person's chest was penetrated directly. Blood spurted out like a waterfall, and his figure hit the city wall far away. Not surprisingly, this person won't live long. Such a scene was the best in the audience and shocked everyone. This person is so powerful. A strong man who is also in the Earth Immortal Realm can't hold a breath in this person's hands. He can be knocked away with one punch. The powerful Celestial Immortal Realm man hiding in the dark looked at the scene with dumbfounded eyes and exclaimed. Yes, his strength is comparable to that of a strong man from the Celestial Immortal Realm, but why haven't we heard of this person? And judging by his age, he seems to be a rising star. The person next to him nodded, but his face showed a trace of doubt and confusion. I don't know, and I don't know this person at Kisha Palace, so why did he start a fight with us? Could it be that we offended him somewhere? Hearing this, the 2 shook their heads. How could they know? Outside the city gate, Qin Fei stood there with a proud look on his face. His deep eyes glanced at the people on the city wall. The corners of his mouth were slightly curved, as if he was mocking everyone's incompetence. He seemed to feel something again. He looked somewhere and said with an indifferent expression, Isn't it time for the 3 people in the dark to stretch their muscles? Why are they still hiding there? Is it possible that you just watch your men die one after another? The 3 people frowned when they heard this, and no longer hid it. They moved and appeared in front of Qin Feng. Looking at Qin Feng's proud figure, an old man in the middle of the 3 stood up and said with cupped hands, Little brother, I wonder if my 7 kills haul has offended you in any way? To make you so aggressive? And it seems that I haven't seen you before? Even if you want to destroy my 7 kills haul, you have to give me a reason, right? Hearing this, Qin Feng smiled coldly, his expression remained arrogant, and he said lightly, I followed the master's order to come to destroy your power. I don't seem to need a reason, right? Seeing this, the old man frowned. Although he was a little unhappy, he tried his best to suppress it and said with a forced smile, Then who is the master behind my little brother? Can you tell me his name? In case I know him, this is not an accidental injury. Qin Feng shook his head. You don't know my master, but his name will soon be heard throughout the 10 regions. Qin Feng was talking about Qin Xian. The reason why he said this was to take this opportunity to make Qin Xian's name known, so that the name Qin Xian would make them feel a sense of mystery and make people unable to see through it. The old man raised his eyebrows, feeling that the man in front of him was too arrogant. It was not easy to resound in the 10 domains, unless he was the son of the domain lord. Can't we just take a step back? The old man seemed not to want to fight Qin Feng. After all, Qin Feng had such talent. Even though his words were arrogant, the old man believed that the master behind him was extraordinary, so he tried his best not to offend. Qin Feng's eyes remained firm when he heard this, and he said coldly, "Sorry, I can't retreat. But I can give you 3 a chance. How about I let you 3 take the first shot?" Hearing this, the 3 of them looked at each other. Since this person was going to be beaten, they had no choice but to do it. The next moment, a long knife appeared in the hands of the 3 people. The long knife was the rank 3 law weapon. The 3 people moved and began to pace back and forth, as if they were forming some kind of formation. Qin Feng didn't say anything when he saw this, he just stared at them closely. There was no trace of fear at all. Buzz. The next moment, a green-blue pattern emerged from the feet of the 3 people. In an instant, a mighty immortal energy slowly floated out from it. In an instant, an old man whose face could not be seen clearly appeared, with a hand in his hand. A Saiyan spiritual sword with powerful immortal energy shining on it, like a divine weapon of creation. Seeing this scene, the 3 of them stopped, pinched the spell in their hands, and with a bang, the phantom of the old man pointed his spiritual sword at Qin Feng's figure and rushed over with such force that the ground trembled. Seeing this, Qin Feng's eyes turned cold, and he deployed the field of destruction. Boom! A rush of coercion directly pressed on the 3 of them, and the 3 of them instantly transformed from the strength of the celestial immortal realm to the earth immortal realm. At the same time, the moves jointly released by the 3 of them were instantly dispersed by this coercion. Seeing this scene, the 3 of them felt a little panic, and couldn't help but look at each other. They didn't understand why Qin Feng would display such a powerful force, and it was a force they had never seen before. Qin Feng did not explain that with the blessing of the destruction realm, his strength has reached the celestial immortal realm. Feeling the powerful power in his body, Qin Feng sharpened his eyes, clenched his fists, and aimed at the 3 people, releasing a shadow that covered the sky and the sun. Boom! The 3 of them were instantly shaken back. They spat out a mouthful of blood and fell on the city wall. With a bang, the city wall shattered and turned into a pile of ruins. The people standing on the city wall were not spared either. It's too weak. Can you give me some sense of expectation? Qin Feng looked at the scene with a hint of contempt on his face and couldn't help but mock them. To be honest, since Qin Feng felt the powerful power, he couldn't help but start to indulge in it, and his original indifferent personality began to transform into another personality. Ahem. A cough came from among the ruins. I saw 3 old men supporting each other, standing up tremblingly, looking at Qin Feng with a hint of fear in their eyes. Despite this, the 3 of them have no intention of giving up. This is not because they don't want to, but because the 7 Kills Hall has a rule. No matter how powerful the enemy in front of you is, since you are a member of the 7 Kills Hall, you cannot retreat, you can only fight. The 3 of them knew this, otherwise they would have fled here in a hurry. Looking at the miserable figures of the 3 of them, Qin Feng remained as indifferent as ever, crossed his arms and said, "If that's all you have, then you really don't have a reason to live." As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Feng's eyes flashed, and a palm-sized fireball appeared in his hand. Looking at the fireball in his hand, Qin Feng did not hesitate and threw it directly towards the 3 of them. While flying, the originally palm-sized fireball began to grow in size until it turned into a 100-meter-sized fireball. Bah! Rebirth of Fantasy, Obtain the Sect System. Author, Red General. Chapter 250. The firelight shone so hot on the faces of the three people, as if the alarm bell of fate had sounded. The three people wanted to resist, but found that their bodies could no longer move and were completely controlled. Seeing this scene, the three people's eyes revealed a trace of despair. My life is at risk. The three of them closed their eyes and waited quietly for death to come. However, after a few breaths passed, the three of them still stood there taking a good picture. They couldn't help but show a trace of doubt, and suddenly found a dazed figure standing in front of them. The tall figure of the figure acted like an indestructible shield, blocking the fierce attacking fireball. The fireball was like a toy in the man's hand. Within a moment, the huge fireball turned into a trace of flame and disappeared. Looking at this person's figure, Qin Feng's face moved slightly, his eyes flashed with golden light, and he murmured, "True immortal realm powerhouse." He was a big level higher than Qin Feng. Despite this, Qin Feng's expression was as calm as ever, without any fear. The figure stood with his hands behind his back, straightened his body, looked at Qin Feng's face hidden under the black robe, and said, "Little brother, you must have had enough fun? Don't forget what kind of power our 7 kills hall is. People like me, there are countless powerful people in the true immortal realm. Although this hall is just a branch hall, it is not something you can offend. So, now I'm giving you a chance to step back, otherwise the consequences will be very serious, and you simply can't bear it. I believe you don't want to be chased endlessly by a strong man, right?" Hearing this, Qin Feng smiled coldly, without the slightest hint of fear, and the realm of destruction pounced on the figure like a wild beast. In an instant, the figure's strength dropped to the celestial immortal realm. Feeling the disappearance of his own strength, the figure's pupils shrank, and the original calm expression disappeared. He clenched his fists and looked at the person in front of him in disbelief. This is the realm. Impossible. Who is the person behind you?" The figure looked at Qin Feng and asked quickly. It's a pity that Qin Feng didn't answer him, but walked towards him step by step. With every step he took, the figure's heart would beat for a moment, as if a death crisis was imminent. The figure also knew that the person in front of him was not someone he could afford to offend. After all, domains are not something that ordinary people can control. Take the 10 domains as an example. The top 10 domain lords control their own domains, but who are the top 10 domain lords? That is a powerful person who has reached the level of immortal emperor or above. He is the ancestor of all things and the lord of creation. In his eyes, the immortal emperor is just an ant, and he can die with just one look. You don't deserve to know his name. Qin Feng looked down at the figure and made a cold voice. This voice made the figure's already uneasy heart instantly drop. Now he seemed to be in an ice cave, enjoying the torture caused by the cold. Immediately afterwards, Qin Feng turned into a ghost shadow and appeared behind the figure, and hundreds of fist shadows couldn't stop erupting. Boom! 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 Ah! After resisting hundreds of punches, the figure let out a scream, knelt on one knee with disheveled hair, and kept breathing heavily. In fact, the figure had the strength to resist, but he did not dare to resist, as if he was afraid of something. Qin Feng glanced at him in surprise. After a moment of contemplation, he knew what he was worried about. After a few breaths, Qin Feng stopped moving his hands, stared at him with cold eyes and asked, "You are from the 7 Kills Palace, Branch Hall Master?" The figure nodded and replied, "Yes, my name is Gu Cheng." "Gu Cheng?" Qin Feng raised his eyebrows and kept looking up and down Gu Cheng's body until he found a strange line carved on the back of Gu Cheng's head. Seeing this, Qin Feng's eyes flashed and his lips curled up into a smile. He seemed to understand something. He looked directly at Gu Cheng and asked tentatively, "Are you interested in doing things for me?" Hearing this, Gu Cheng was shocked, looked at Qin Feng in disbelief, and hesitated. Me. Gu Cheng wanted to agree, but something seemed to be affecting him, making him unable to speak, and he was hesitant to speak. Seeing Gu Cheng's appearance, Qin Feng knew that he was worried. A golden light appeared in his hands, and then he placed them on the lines on the back of Gu Cheng's head. As soon as the golden light touched the lines erupted with black light, as if they had encountered something terrible, and instantly erupted with a sizzling sound, as if a flame was burning. In an instant, the black lines completely disappeared and turned into a golden Xian character. Seeing this scene, Qin Feng was speechless. He looked at Gu Cheng and said without changing his expression, "That's enough. I've helped you get rid of the thing you were worried about, and now, your life is in my hands." Hearing this, Gu Cheng touched the back of his head and found that the feeling of electric shock was no longer there. He was overjoyed and quickly knelt down on one knee, cupped his hands to Qin Feng and said, "I pay homage to my master and am willing to die for him." Qin Feng waved his hand, shook his head and said, "I don't need you to die, you just need to give me the task I gave you. Of course, I will also give you a reward, but this is the reward after the mission is successful. On the contrary, if you fail the mission, then I will also give you the corresponding punishment. Do you understand?" Gu Cheng did not hesitate, nodded respectfully and said, "I understand that I will not let my master down." Seeing this, Qin Feng nodded. It is much better to have a strong person in the true immortal realm to handle some things without having to do it himself. After all, strictly speaking, Qin Feng is Qin Xian, and Qin Xian's thoughts with Qin Feng's thoughts. What's more, this person is also the branch master of the Seven Kills Palace. When the other three people saw this scene, their pupils shrank, never expecting that the arrogant palace master would deign to serve this person. But then they began to feel a little scared. After all, they had all seen the scene just now. What they couldn't avoid was killing people and silencing them. Thinking of this, the three of them couldn't help but look at each other, and the idea of surrendering to this person arose in their eyes, but then they hesitated, and were a little afraid that Qin Feng would not agree. Qin Feng, who was standing next to Gu Cheng, looked at the expressions of the three people, his eyes moved, and he knew what they were thinking. "It happens that we are short of men, so you are lucky, so I will spare your lives." Thinking of this, Qin Feng's figure appeared in front of the three of them. He looked at the three of them with a pair of black hole eyes and said coldly, "Do you three want to die or live?" When the three heard this, they quickly replied, "Of course they want to live." Seeing this, Qin Feng nodded, and a trace of golden light appeared in his hand again, and he skillfully carved it on the back of the three people's heads.